Hello, and welcome to Community Voices, where we talk to Humboldt County's movers and shakers. Today's guest, Emma Breacain, Executive Director, Humboldt Literacy Project. And now here's your host, Paul Versu.
Hello and welcome to Access Humboldt's Community Voices. My name is Paul Versu and I'll be your host. Today we're speaking with Emma Breacain, the director of the Humboldt County Literacy Project. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having us.
Yes, well, usually I start out by asking folks what their job entails.
Well, I'm the administrator of a nonprofit that started in Humboldt in 1981. A grad student started this project helping adults improve their reading and writing skills. And in 1985, we became a full-fledged nonprofit. And for the last 10 years, I have been the executive director introducing Humboldt County adults who want to improve their reading and writing to volunteer tutors who work with them one-on-one. And we are still Humboldt's one free confidential place for one-on-one English language tutoring at the learner's own pace, focusing on their specific goals and needs.
Well, let's go back to the history then. Back to 1981. How was the need to have reading tutors to increase adult literacy? How did they come about identifying that?
I don't know. I'm sorry. I wasn't there in 81. I was.
Let me ask you a question about when you weren't around. That'll be easier.
But I think I could probably give that a pretty fair answer anyway, because the statistics on functional illiteracy in the United States are not changing much. I have not seen any new statistics. So basically, Humboldt County is about the same as the rest of the United States. About 15% of adults are considered functionally illiterate. And what that means on a practical level is practically anytime you're in a big enough room with enough other adults, you're talking to somebody who has struggled a little bit with their reading and writing in some way. And it's not always easy to get the help you need. I think we all wish that we could fit into the standard classroom environment that a lot of us have benefited from here, but nobody's one size fits all. So we're trying to give people who maybe have a high school diploma, but still can't read and write well enough to, get a good enough job, or maybe had to leave school early, or maybe moved around too many times to really keep up with school. We're giving them that chance to make things a little bit better now, improve their employment capabilities, maybe be able to help the kids with the homework, especially now that suddenly everybody's a homeschooler. Now every parent is suddenly also a teacher. And there's just a lot of other things we need our literacy for. So the 15% number is something I sure would love to see go down, but it hasn't happened in the 10 years that I've been here.
Well, let's talk about, I asked a question about right before you got there. Let's ask a question going back to the 20th century. My naivety is that I would think that literacy was a problem that had been tackled post-industrial revolution and schools and whatnot. Now, you say 15% is a constant number. Has that gone down through time? I'm 60 years old. In the last 60 years, has that gone down? Or is that a rate that we've been, at for a long time?
I don't know if I can speak with confidence for the last 50 or 100 years. But 10 years is a pretty long time. And by the way, I'm really proud to be here for that long. And it just seems to be a pretty pernicious issue. And also part of the issue might be that we are getting better at recognizing and diagnosing and helping the issue because we as a society know, more and more.
Well, then let me ask this question. As a society, if we know more and more, is literacy a situation where in an information-driven world, in a computer world, is it more of a detriment than it's ever been right now?
Well, it's incredibly important right now because in addition to, we wanting our learners to be able to read a medicine bottle, read the instructions on a pack of rice-a-roni. Now we're in a pandemic. We're a full year into a pandemic, and our learners need, in my mind, the number one priority is you have to be able to access information about the pandemic and the best ways to keep ourselves safe. And you also have to be able to recognize what is a good source of information and what is not. We probably shouldn't be making medical decisions from our, aunt's Facebook comments. We've got to, be able to not just access information, not just read information, but judge the quality of that information. So this last year has really highlighted the importance of really taking our learners and our tutors to this whole other level. Our tutors came to us to help somebody with reading and writing. Now, all of a sudden, they're helping their learners figure out computers and the internet. And this is a garbage website with terrible false information, and this one is probably okay. And we have to stay on top of it because sometimes what used to be a good source of information turns into a questionable one. It's a little overwhelming, isn't it?
I would think so. Let's go back to just before the pandemic. Finally, a period of time I can ask you about that you've been there. Just before the pandemic, how did people connect with the program?
Basically, if you are a person who would like a tutor to help you improve your reading and writing, you give me a call. We set up about a 20-30 minute intake. And then within a few weeks, we have you matched with your tutor for study. Now, of course, we have to arrange that over Skype or Zoom. Not everybody has a computer. Not everybody has internet and video conferencing. Not everybody is computer literate. So, we're working with people as creatively as we can. We're trying to encourage the computer literacy and the ability to use Zoom. So if somebody wants, help learning, that's how they get a hold of us, and it still works. And if somebody wants to be a tutor, they used to call me up and express their interest, and I would sign them up for our tutor orientations. We hold a tutor orientation every couple of months, and of course, those have moved on to Zoom. So we will be scheduling an orientation for around April. We haven't set the date yet, but anyone who's interested can go to our website, humboldtliteracy.org, or call us at 445-3655, and we will help them get into it. But yeah, basically we're moving everything into the internet pipeline and still doing pretty much what we've always done. It's just about reading and writing.
Well, let's go back just before you talked about people would get a hold of you. How did they know to get a hold of you?
Well, we try to get word of mouth out. We have brochures all over town at the library, at social services, at the jobs market. And some people hear about us from their friends or a social worker or a school teacher. We've got relationships with the schools.
So how much of that 15% that falls in that category are you seeing, let's say? I mean, are 5% of those people coming to you in any given year, or,
Probably much less, probably much less. Before the pandemic, we were averaging maybe about 100 tutors and about 100 learners. That dropped off quite a bit when the pandemic hit. Some people didn't like the change to digital. Some people had to take on more commitments with their family or more shifts at an essential job. So our enrollment dropped off quite a bit. We are probably right now, we're probably around 40 or so tutors and learners. and the number of adults in Humboldt County who are considered functionally illiterate is roughly 14,000. So
Wow.
that is probably a very small percentage, because it's not just about do you need a little bit of help? It's not just about, is this a good idea? I think most of us agree everyone can stand to improve their skills a little bit. Everyone can agree literacy is a good thing, and it's got to be the right time. If you might not be in the place in your life where you can devote a couple of hours a week to this, so, and you have to be mentally and emotionally ready. It takes a lot of courage to ask for this help. By the time a learner meets me, they're an adult who's struggling to read and write, and they don't realize that 15% of us are in the exact same position as them. They think that everyone is doing this thing that they can't do. Sometimes they've been abused and shamed, and even taken advantage of, because there are predators out there who will lie to you and scam you when they find out that your skills aren't quite up to par. And that makes it very challenging, very emotionally difficult, and a little bit dangerous to reveal that you need this help. So by the time somebody has the courage to knock on my door or pick up the phone and ask for a tutor, they've really been through quite a bit. And, it takes a really special person to, get through all of that and say, I'm going to do this now. This is the time.
It would seem very difficult to get the word across to get a message across about literacy, just because of the actual skills involved in getting the message across and getting people in. I had no idea about the added level that you just said. That, I mean, how much of your program is devoted to, getting rid of stigmas or that kind of deterrent for people to go ahead and step forward?
Yeah. We try and make people comfortable with the fact that nobody's good at everything. There's plenty of things that I cannot do. I happen to be very good at reading and writing. Literacy has not been my struggle. I've struggled with plenty of other things. We all do. And I think it helps to remind the learner that nobody's good at everything. And it helps that we're a confidential program and a safe place where, yes, you're not good at this yet. That's why we're here. It's okay. And, to see them relax, is very nice. There was one particular learner who sought out our help because this person wanted to write instructional material about working on cars, taking engines apart, putting them back together, and every session, this person was always apologizing for the things they didn't know and saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, thank you so much." And I finally said, "Why are you apologizing? I can't take an engine apart. We all have different skills."
So now, with that being said, how do you go ahead and get volunteers and then train these volunteers? Because it sounds like there's so many more levels to this than just teaching. Not that it's just teaching reading, but just the actual teaching of reading.
Yeah, and I do, I try to brace our tutors that this work is much more than just the reading and writing. Nothing happens in a vacuum. There are contributing causes to being an illiterate adult in America, and then there are issues that come from being an illiterate adult in America, and we deal with a lot before before we can get down to the whole thing, what we thought was the point. And I try and really remind the tutors that we're getting there, we're doing it. It's just a little bigger and hairier than we thought it was. And I feel kind of apologetic. Our tutors are we often attract people from a literacy background, an educational background, and that's wonderful. But you don't have to be a retired teacher, and you don't have to be a literacy expert to help us out. We actually need all kinds of volunteers, all kinds of tutors with all kinds of experiences, because we have all kinds of learners with all kinds of needs. So, yeah.
So how hard is it to get volunteers during this time?
I'm actually, it's, of course, everything drops off a little bit, but I'm actually really heartened that we still have interested people. The main thing is just saying, yes, we are here. Yes, we are open for business, and we are doing this.
So that being said, are you unique in this country, or are there other literacy projects that exist around the United States?
Thank goodness we are not unique. I mean, I have to learn a little bit more about it, because it sounds pretty unique and special that this one grad student named Lily Gonzalez started this program at HSU in 1981 that became a nonprofit in 1985. And now we are a part of what is called California Library Literacy Services. At just about any library in California, you can walk in and ask for free confidential help with your literacy skills. And most of them have a literacy program set up to do exactly what we're doing. We happen to be an independent nonprofit. Think about 2 or 3 out of about 50 literacy programs in California are nonprofits, but we still work very closely with the library. And yes, this exists all over.
Interestingly enough, so you say 2 or 3 are nonprofits. Are the others supported by the counties or the municipalities in which they exist?
They are part of the library, so they are. A lot of these literacy programs literally have a little tiny office within their library, and a part-time person working there.
Now, do you have any outreach beyond? It seems like to me it'd be hard to get somebody that had a literacy challenge into a library to find out this. They have to be seeking it out themselves. Do you have outreach that goes and tries to connect with people in the community to get them into that library to find out?
Yes, social services, schools, hospitals, various places where people try and improve their employment skills. We're trying to hit everybody, because, yes, it's very paradoxical to write a print ad saying, hey, we're here for you. So we kind of sort of, when we're doing outreach, we kind of sort of try and cast a wide net. Maybe it's not you who needs the help with your reading and writing. Maybe it's a friend, and maybe you feel comfortable enough to let the friend know, hey, I heard about this place, and they sound like nice, caring people, and if you were having some trouble filling out that job application, maybe they could help you with that.
Excellent. Well, that's outstanding. I had no idea the many levels that would be involved. I was reading your information before the interview, and that's what seemed to fascinate me, is that this is both a skill-based service and a social service as well. Did you think of that did that become apparent when you took the job, that this was much more than teaching to read?
I figured it out pretty quickly. And these days in orientation, I like to tell our tutors about Helen Keller's tutor, Ann Sullivan, and I hold up their experience as kind of an example of a very intense example.
Right.
A very extreme example, because Helen Keller was blind and deaf from the age of 18 months. She couldn't speak. She, couldn't read. She couldn't do much. I've apparently gave her some attitude and disciplinary problems, because here she is, this little child who can't communicate, which is very frustrating to anybody, and doesn't know what to do about it. So by all accounts, Helen Keller was pretty difficult little kid, and they got her live-in tutor Anne Sullivan into the house when she was around 6. And there was a lot of time first into just getting a little discipline into a kid, and getting the kid to sit down and pay attention. And then it was, the actual teaching, how do you teach someone who cannot see or hear how to read and write? Well, we use the manual alphabet into the palm of the hand, and just, there's the very famous story of taking her outside and running the water over her hands to teach her the concept that everything has a word, and this word is the word for water. So that is my story for the tutors about, oh yes, it's going to, be a lot more than just the reading and writing. You got a lot to swim through. This is a real person and we're trying to keep our program really humane. Our tutors are adults with families and jobs and commitments, and so are our learners. And sometimes you're sick, and sometimes, you're frazzled, and that's going to affect your studies, and we just try to roll with it.
Right on. Well, it sounds like an incredible passion, and the labor of love, so to speak, in this case. So we thank you for that. That's about all the time we have for today. I'd like to thank Emma Breacain for joining me, the director of the Humboldt Literacy Project. Thank you so much for the work that you do, and we'll see you next time on Community Voices. Thank you, Emma.
Thank you very much.
This has been Community Voices with your host, Paul Bersu. Thank you for joining us. If you represent a nonprofit organization and are interested in being a guest on Community Voices, send an email to info@accesshumboldt.net or call 476-1798. Access Humboldt, local voices through community media.